I'm back. Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. Welcome back to the chart stream. It has been a slight minute. Since I've been back, but we're here nonetheless. And you know what? I'm actually quite impressed at how awful we haven't done anything. There's one that I genuinely haven't streamed in a long time. And I come back and I look at the charts and I just, what is there to talk about? Okay, it doesn't matter. We have stuff to talk about, don't worry. Just, don't expect too much new stuff. We're just going to be talking about, the higher prices. Nonetheless, we'll get there when we get there. Let's start the timer. I do have a longer timer. It might not be an hour and a half. It might be an hour and 15 minutes. It might be a tiny bit longer. Nonetheless, though, it might not be like I said, up to 30 minutes more. But obviously, we talked about it on Wednesday. We do have the new spangled microphone, which hopefully sounds real nice to the ears. But nonetheless, the streams will be the same. And also we do have different lighting, which is quite nice. I don't know how orange it is. Like I said, my monitor has a blue light filter, so I could look like a burnt sweet potato, and I would not know. So hopefully it's not too bad. Anyways, hopefully you've all been well, since I last streamed. Obviously we did stream Wednesday, so some of you there on that stream, which was a very funny stream. Then we obviously have talked, hopefully, already. But other than, hello everybody. I want to quickly just get straight into it. Okay, we have no dilly-dallying to do. If we look at the 24-hour liquidations, we can see $433 million of long, which is quite nice. Again, basically meaning we've come down a bit. I look at the chart. I look at what we've looked at. Apologies. I've realized over the mic, I have no noise filtering. I type on the keyboard, you hear every noise, so I'll try be quiet as possible anyway. We've come upwards and then come down again, and we're basically exactly where we were last time I talked on the stream, which generally feels like an eternity ago, since I last streamed, or streamed on the topic of charts anyway, because again, we did do the AI stream, which I do want to do another one of maybe Saturday time, Sunday, whatever it might be. We might be doing something Saturday in the way of the stream, so maybe Sunday, whatever it's going to be. I do want to do another one. Relating to Binance and obviously talking about crypto related to AI, so maybe we'll get to there. Obviously Saturday, Sunday time. Nonetheless, though, about 525 total liquidations, mostly in longs though. Going to the calendar, seeing if there's anything going on. Not really much. Again, the only thing which really matters normally is America. We can see nothing's really going on in America. I want to go this week and just see what we've had, if anything, previously. Nothing really going on, but maybe yesterday. To be fair, yesterday's data, I do believe. Maybe that probably had somewhat of an effect on the market. But other than, we had some maybe yesterday, but it doesn't really matter. Either way, England doesn't. No one cares about England or Japan. No one cares when it comes to crypto. No one really cares apart from America, which is obviously fine, whatever. But nothing going on, which is good. Going to CoinMarketCap though, we can see 69,255 for Bitcoin right now, down about 4% on the daily, 24-hour that is, 1.6% down on the 7-day. Ethereum 2129, and again, this doesn't feel like that bad because obviously I haven't streamed in a while when it comes to the charts. So this just feels like it just feels like I've done the stream 2 days later since last time I talked. So I'm not too surprised about these numbers, but we'll go through them. Solana, we have about $88, 87.97 there, about 2.4% down, 24-hour. And Ethereum, I didn't actually read it out. It's 4.5% down 24-hour. So we've got some decent numbers on the way down, which we could expect. Again, we saw the liquidations on CoinGlass. It was about 500 million total, about 420, whatever it was exactly, on long liquidations, which obviously means we're going down. But it doesn't really matter. Other than that, though, we have Syrup. Apologies for I'm going to try and type really quietly. I also can't see the screen because this light is blinding me. About 25 cent, which is good. We're doing pretty well. Again, we haven't ripped up to 70 cent yet. One day I'm expecting to look at my phone and we have 70 cent Syrup. That's just what it's going to be. Okay, this has been my pride. This has been it's like having 7 children. You have 6 children which don't do anything, and a bit, have like they're just like a bit they're dud children basically. And then you've got one child. You wake them up at 5 a.m. They play piano for 1 hour, then they go swim for the next hour, then they go to school, and they're already geniuses. They're already basically going to like NASA or something by 16 years of age. And that is Syrup for me. That is what we've had the entire time, right? We've talked about Bitcoin, been right, been wrong, talked about other things. Syrup, it's been beautiful. So 25 cents is really good. I'm still expecting it to go upwards. I had a glance at all the charts before we started the stream, or before I started the stream, and it's looking pretty good. So we'll get to that obviously when we get there. But 25% is pretty good. We have World Liberty Financial. I don't like how it's World Liberty Financial. I always think World Liberty Finance, and I always type it wrong. Anyways, about 9 cent. We haven't gone up to 15, 14 cent yet. I am expecting somewhat of a move. Again, this is there's coins where they are within their own ecosystem, and then there's World Liberty Financial. Again, this will have an effect not only on the tokenomics, but also within American government and what Trump's doing and whatnot. So there is a bit of a by-proxy effect on if things go on in politically go on. Obviously, again, if we are going to WAR with, or people are going to WAR with other people, I don't know if I can say that word, but if people are fighting each other, obviously going to have an effect on the market as a whole. But, you know, I could understand the psychology that if World Liberty Financial was a by-proxy numerical value for the actions of Trump, then I can understand that, you know, because it's his project, kind of, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we've not gone upwards, but again, I do expect somewhat of a move upwards. Again, it's not looking too positive, but we'll have a look. Anyway, 5.7% down. I assume that's 24-hour as well for World Liberty Financial. But nonetheless, that is the CoinMarketCap. Let me have a little look at the chat, see what's going on. Make the screen bigger. Yeah, if I make it to, if I zoom in, are you able to see it? I haven't sent. You know what? I'm supposed to send. Am I supposed to send the stream in Telegram? Let me go do that quickly. There we go. I should do that. Anyways, we're back now. So I've zoomed in now. Apologies. Let me read the chat actually. Camera looking good. Good. I'm glad. I mean, the camera was always good. We didn't have the best lighting, but this lighting. I mean, I don't have it on the brightest it can go. I could have put it on the brightest it can go, but I'm not going to do that. But it's proper bright. But this is a good brightness. Again, microphone beautiful. This is like the pinnacle of what it's going to be. You know, you can't get, unless we're going to go on the BBC, unless we're going to emulate the BBC or emulate some news company who's got proper, you know, high end stuff. This is it. Anyways, better, good. I'm glad. I haven't really zoomed out because I want you to be able to see the chart on the right when I talk about it, but it doesn't matter. Whatever. Let me go to the Binance Square chat. Bitcoin Buy, good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Alyssa, good morning. Hello. Toti, hello to you. Hello to all of you. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate it. Being part of the stream at the start. What we'll be discussing, yeah, charts. I'll just do the charts. So we can see on the right hand side of the screen, there is an agenda. I can make it move. I should probably do that actually. You know what? I'm being professional today. This is the first stream back with this. I'm gonna be professional. We're actually going to do it. All right. This is the intro. There you go. You can see it highlights. See, we are high tech. We had this at the start of the channel. All right. We made this element at the start of the channel. No one's doing it like we. No one's doing it like we are. Even yesterday with the quiz, some of you guys were there at the quiz. Thank you for joining on the quiz. You guys know how it is. No one's doing it like we're doing it, you know? Anyway, it's just a sidebar. And let me calm down. Bitcoin, there you go. See, I'm going to highlight. I am going to keep it on my right monitor and highlight it every time so we can see we're on Bitcoin now. But yes, it is charts. On the right hand side, you can see the charts. But again, like I said, we have an hour and a quarter, hour and a half stream. I want to do a longer stream today because the stream was highlighted by Binance Square. Shout out to them. So I thought, you know, we should give the people what they want. Give them a longer stream. So if you do have any coins you want me to cover, I can do some live TA. But if not, hey Nance, shout out to you. I can see you. Thank you for being here. I hopefully haven't missed anybody. Hi brother, hello to you. Okay, that's pretty much it then. All right, going to the charts now, finally. Bitcoin. So, okay, it might look like, oh, the chart's not looking too bad. Oh, it's not, you know, not that ugly. Just beware of the flashbang I'm about to give you when I unhide. I'll give you a sneak peek. Oh, that was too much. My heckles got heckled. No, my gills shivered. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something. I'm going to hide it for now because I want to talk just generally. Obviously, we do have it highlighted. Oh, it hurts me even. Binance Chat is good today. Yes, there was some nice people. Thank you guys on Binance Square for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah, we did drop a box 2 seconds ago, but anyway, the sidebar. Hopefully nothing's too. I do need to sort out some noise cancellation on the microphone because you can hear everything. you could probably hear my thoughts. It's that sensitive. Anyways, so the main thing we've had for a long time now, not just as of the latest. Again, I did stream a while ago. It was quite a while ago, to be fair. It was maybe like a week ago, a bit more than a week ago. So it has been a while. But the main thing has been, I remember talking during this candle. The main topic, I'm going to draw, I can't. I'm going to draw it again. So there's nothing. Okay, wait. So I just want to highlight it without anything on the screen. This is what we talked about. So this is kind of, hold on. Let me get all the areas up. I'm sorry for the loudness. I know my mouse is probably blasting your ears and just making it cry. So the main thing we've talked about, and I'm just going to keep it on the weekly here just so we can see what's going on in a bit more, wider scale. We have 2 areas, or 3, but mainly 2. We have this blue area and then the red areas above. I wasn't convinced we were going to see this 73k area as our pinnacle high. I wasn't convinced this was the max high. There were things to consider when thinking about this and suggesting, okay, I could understand why it could be a high, but my personal opinion leads me more towards higher towards 82 and 80, at least 81k. I have my reasons. I will go over it again on the other chart in literally a minute. Obviously, if you've been in any of my chart streams in the last however many weeks it's been, then you will know what I'm going to talk about. But the main one I can talk of as for certain is this bottom area. If you remember what I said, if you were there in any of the other streams, can I hear the mouse? Good. I'm glad. Glad it's not too loud. So the main thing we've talked about, and the main thing I said quite a while ago, you can obviously go back in the streams. I could probably try and clip it, obviously. I need to clip stuff. I should have a keybind for clipping. That's probably something I should do. Anyways, which was, we have formed this rejection block. We are going to print, or we should print, again, nothing's ever certain when it comes to the charts, but it was more of an ideology. We should print at the midpoint. We should see and I can probably go find this in the old streams. I need to go back quite a far bit though, but printing at this midpoint, probably seeing a candle which has a very small green body, in this case green. Obviously I have black and green. Black is negative, green is positive. A small printing green body for kind of a reversal, a reversal indication where we then should see some green candles. And this is exactly what we've done, which has been very, very nice to see. So I'm very happy about the TA so far, because it's gone pretty well since what I talked about. Where we can exactly see, we've been talking about this area since basically the start of February, which has been, we have this massive rejection block on the weekly. If I was to unhide the ranges, we can see why it's formed, which is this low point here. Any wick which comes into this area, which has a massive wick, which has a bigger wick than the candle body. Basically, it has a big wick, right? Or a big movement downwards, which results in a massive move back upwards towards a smaller candle body. This is what should be a rejection block. And it is formed appropriate to where we are relative to the range being towards 120k area and 60k. This is kind of the range we have. So we can see we formed this, and the idea was we should stay above 65.5. We should be printing at this area. Now again, bearing in mind we're on the weekly here, so if we go to the 4 hour or whatever, yes, we have had times where we've printed lower, 62, 63k. We've had times where we've printed lower and been in these areas. This is a weekly support point where we should hold respect on the weekly. And the importance of this as well is, even if you're looking at the 4 hour and it's super negative, and yes, the lower time frames feed into the higher time frames. The more consistently you move on the lower time frames, this will eventually pass into the higher time frames. This is price. The time frames are just a different way of looking at the exact same price. To see multiple 4 hour candles, they all add up into one daily candle, right? So if you have multiple 4 hour candles, this is going to be one daily candle. This makes sense, right? So the higher time frame has more weighting, right? It has more bias to a longer term opinion rather than the 4 hour. You can trade the 4 hour and the 15 minute, and you can interrange stuff. But I think if you're going to be looking at the charts as someone yourself, I think you should always try and have a constant understanding as to what you think might be happening. It's not a permanent, it's not a guarantee. You can look at the charts and not exactly know what's going on, but just have a general gist of what's going on the weekly, on the higher time frames. It helps to understand where you are in the market and to where you could be going and where you should respond off. So for example here, even when we were below 63, I understood the fact that as long as we're printing above 65k and holding the support point, I did not care how low we went within this rejection block. The idea was we should stay roughly at the midpoint and then start to go upwards. From there, we had two areas, and a lot of people I saw on Twitter talk about talk about 74, 73.5. Now, I remember saying this last stream, maybe stream before. I wasn't fully convinced this was... I need some water. Let me mute my mic because I know it's very loud. Apologies. I do need noise. I do need some noise suppression for this mic. Anyways, there was two areas, like I said, and I wasn't convinced it was going to be 73. I'm still not convinced it's the permanent high point. I just hit my mic. I don't want to make too much noise because I know people aren't, get. It's first work. This is, it's like being on a roof and fitting tile on the roof. This is hard work. Sitting down and not moving and clicking a mouse and talking. It's super hard. Anyways, we had this area. Now, I have my reasons, and we'll go for it in a second, for this 81k area, right? This is the area I want for a long period of time now. Now, structurally, yes, we have printed at this midpoint. You can see the midpoint's about 73.7. We have stayed below this and found it resistance. Perfectly fine. Whatever. I was saying on the streams, I can understand if we see resistance in this area. I'm not saying this isn't going to be a guaranteed area where we just completely don't move upwards, right? This is understandable. Now, the one thing in every single thing I could look at, possibly on the weekly, all pointed to 81 rather than 73, right? The one thing I would agree with is the balance. The idea is in a range you want to go back towards equilibrium and then come down again. That's just an idea, right? Obviously not financial advice. The time we didn't do that was this area. Obviously we just printed past these lows. We only just entered into this downtrend. But on the daily we moved perfectly fine. So the only thing I can concede on is with the fact that in this period we didn't have a high towards where we should have had a high. And we could do the same thing where we don't have a high. If we look at the range, we can see we should go higher than this 75k area towards about 80k, right? But like we had with this time, we didn't do that. So I could concede on that point. However, my argument against that was the daily time frame. Now on the daily time frame, we moved perfectly fine in range. We had this range with this range, and we kept, like, if I draw it, each range on the way downwards, we did perfectly fine. So if we look on the daily for the range, we did perfectly fine in this 98k area, 96k area. Same thing if we look here, we can see it's going to result in the same thing. It's the same range. We have no, and this is the really key point here. On the day, even on the weekly, we have a gap. And I talked about this last stream, which was obviously quite a while ago. So I'm talking about what I've already talked about on the weekly. So obviously, number one, people who are new here, who don't know what I've talked about, I want to give a new, understanding of what I've talked about, but also the fact that I haven't talked about the charts in a long time. Apart from the weekly, we don't actually have this gap anywhere else. Now, yes, we did use it. We can see on the daily, we did use it as resistance. We did find difficulty. Daily, we are in a good uptrend. You can see we've printed past this high. Now, I did have this drawn on the other chart. I will go to it in a second. So we have started an uptrend. We're doing perfectly fine. We actually have a little range we are in right now, which is this this balance price range of 69.1 to about 70,800. This kind of range we can see we're kind of coming into. Other than that, we do probably have something within this candle at 68. We are doing fine there. But we can see daily, as soon as you get above that equilibrium, we can see we have that immediate gap at 81k, right? If we go to the monthly, we have this gap at 81k. If we go to the 4 hour, we don't really have much. Yes, we do have 75 maybe here, which if we actually zoom across, we can see that's where we found difficulty, right? So if we kind of like draw this out, we can see that's where we printed. That's the midpoint at 74.9, right? So yes, we did have something there. But if we actually look at where we should be going to, we have a massive range here. If I can draw it, we have a massive range here, which we can see we formed this range, didn't get above it at 79k or 79.3, just like 8 equal highs, which is a good sensitive area. So we have all these equal highs in this area, and we have this gap. and obviously these gaps up here, right? So we have this area again, 81k. So this was my main point as well on the last stream, which was not only does this gap on 74, 75, 73k right here, or where we came to before 69, not only does it not, like, it doesn't exist apart from the weekly, the gap above us, which I think is the high point before we go down again, we have every time frame, we have a gap or a range or a void or whatever. We have resistance on every time frame, monthly, weekly, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, whatever. We have resistance, which suggests to me, no matter what time frame you want to even look on, it's there. So I really do think this is a strong support point or resistance point. I do generally think it. And structurally, apart from, yes, we did come into this gap, 73. You can see on the 4 hour relative to the weekly gap, we came to the midpoint, we found resistance, came down, continued the uptrend, came to the high, come down. You know, we're still in this uptrend. We're still doing perfectly fine. So we can continue this, hopefully, obviously. But then from there, if we find support, once we get past this gap, the next point is going to be 81k. Now, I really am convinced that this is the area we see resistance. 81k, 80. I mean, yes, we could go higher towards 82. The exact number varies. Depends on where you want to look at it. I definitely do think it's at least above, and I have my reasons, which actually I will go on to now. If I go to my actual chart now, excuse the mess. I have my, let me go to the weekly, there we go. Whew, it's a bit messy, isn't it? Let me hide this because it's just adding even more to the mess. Let me delete these blue areas because we've already talked about it. My area, so number one, we have the entering back into this range because this is the range which started the downtrend because we were doing perfectly fine. We then came down and then found resistance and then we printed past this low, right? So this is the whole, you know, finesse area, right? So we have this range, which I've drawn out, which is this range here. If we look at the bottom of it is 80,624, coming into 81k. We have equilibrium. I think 86 is maybe a bit too high. That's my personal opinion. This is a gap. 86 is a gap. If we unhide the ranges, we can see equilibrium is also within 88k. So we have equilibrium here. The outer rim of equilibrium is about 83k. So we do have that to consider. We do have a previous area back here. For example, we have this. We have these down close into this gap before we pump. We can see we've used this as a support area previously before we printed through it, and then use it as resistance in this candle. So we have this midpoint of that. It's about 82k as well. So there's a bunch of stuff everywhere. We have 82, 83, 81k. We have so much in the way at 81, 82k. So if the only criteria I want to get through right now with Bitcoin is if we can continue to do what we're doing, and it's not a thing where we have to reverse something, or it's not a thing where we have to do something crazy. We just have to continue what we're doing right now, and we will go to 82k. And I think from there, I'm very convinced on the fact that 82 is going to be resistance. There is so much drawn out at 82k, which I think if we get through it, then fair enough, I guess we get through it. But I generally am not convinced that we get through 82k, because again, a lot of people were convinced that I mean, again, you look online, you look at what people say, and again, I know this is maybe a bit hypocritical because I'm online and I'm saying stuff, and you guys might think I'm an idiot, but you look on Twitter, I see everyone's opinion, and I swear to God, every tweet I saw about Bitcoin, it all said 74k is the high, we're going to go to 50k after that. And it's like, you look online and you see what everyone says, and it just never happens. My indicator of when I think we'll start to go down is when we get to 82k and people say, here we go, bull runs back. That's when I know we're going to go back down. It's just what happens. The amount of times everyone is shorting and then we start to go upwards. Everyone's shorting, we start to go upwards. Everyone starts longing, we go down. It's just what happens. There's so many millions of dollars get liquidated pretty much every day. Not every day, again, it depends. Sometimes it's 200 million, whatever. People get liquidated all the time. And if you see the general consensus online, just try and, I mean, I've seen people talk about, I mean, this got talked about years ago. I remember I saw, like, it was like a YouTube short, and it was like some like trading seminar, and it was some guy basically saying he did this test where he just traded the opposite of like 20 different traders, and he was super successful. And it's like, it's the idea that, you know, you can bank on the averaged idea that people are wrong. So if you've got 15 out of 20 people saying we're going to go upwards, you know, what's the chance that you go upwards? What's the chance you go downwards? And from what I've seen with crypto, and we've seen this a lot, you look online, you see what people are saying, and it just always seems to be the opposite. But obviously, again, that's super hypocritical because I'm online and I'm talking. You might think the same thing. I'm saying, where you think we're going to go down right now. So, whatever. Maybe it's a bit of a paradox or a fallacy. But anyways, so that's the chart. Like I said, we continue to do what we're doing. If we just continue what we're doing, let me rephrase. If we just continue what we're doing, I do believe we will hit 81, 82k. And that's just what it will happen. We can see we have this red line, which was this print through that high. Ever since then, we've had a higher low, higher high, some point doing a higher low potentially, eventually doing a higher high. We're just coming upwards. Now, I did draw this out, actually. I forgot about this. We do have this up close candle. This is the body here. To be fair, we did come into the low of it, which we could probably talk about, but I just drew the candle body out just to make it a bit easier. We can see we've had a bit of difficulty at 74.6, which again was the gap at the weekly, so it doesn't really matter, but we could see a high at 77, but again, this is going to be a temporary high. We continue upwards, we see a high into this area, we come down again to the gap, we go upwards to 80k. It's just what it is. Now, the other thing I think which we have on the lower range, if I'm not mistaken, or this might be on Ethereum, is the idea that we have the extension line. Now, this is very important as well. On the daily, which is this range lower, we are currently in the range of 78.7 to 59k, right? Or 59.049. This is an idea we have on Bitcoin and we have on Ethereum, which is we have a move to this high area at 78.6, 79. The idea is, as long as you print lower than the extension and don't continue past it, you will stay in the range you're currently in. We've seen this previously. I can probably zoom out. I've done this previously, where you can see periods where we've used the extension line as support and or resistance and all these sorts of things, where you don't get above it, you do. And the pinnacle point of when you do change range is printing past and using it as support or resistance. In this case, we would have to print past 80,800 and use it as support to then continue higher. What I think can happen is we go up to and print at basically 81k. Like, we find a difficulty here. On daily, we have this gap. And what we could do, on the 4 hour, we have difficulty at 81. We wick up towards 82.7, let's say. That's perfectly fine. As long as we're printing roughly on the daily at about 80,900, then we're perfectly fine to stay in the range at 78 to 59. So the idea that we've come into this range, we can see we had, this is the extension line. This second line down, this is the extension line. I'll show you. Look, we came down into it. We tried to use the support. We failed. We then came to resistance. You can see it in all these candles. This is like candle by candle of what happened. We came below the range. We found support at the range here. We tried to get up, found difficulty at the high, came through and printed, and then we can see we use it as resistance there. This is 4 candles of perfectness. And if we go to the 4 hour, we can probably see it in a bit more detail, potentially. Yeah, you can kind of see this is the line here. We can see we came down, wicked past, didn't print, resistance. We then printed past it. We then used the resistance, finally printing through it. And then you can see we used the resistance here and then came down. So this is a very good reversal. Very, very good reversal. So same thing here. We're now in this range, right? We've then come from the high to the low, basically. And now we've trailed upwards towards the high, maybe point again. If we do this and see difficulty, it's basically we've come through this entire range, we've come up to it, and we probably will see lower. Maybe not towards maybe into the next range down, potentially, where we've seen this move upwards, and then we're going to go into the next range, right? And at some point we'll stop. We've got 50k midpoint, we've got high at 58k, we've got low at 40k. We have this range next, right? So this has been a really good this has been a really good usage of the range. I think this has been a really perfect usage, and I think what I've talked about is more than valid to happen, right? I think, yeah, that's my opinion, obviously, but I'm personally thinking this is just the way it'll go, and I'm pretty convinced. And again, this is weekly stuff, this is higher time frame stuff. I was never expecting this to happen within 2 days. Obviously, we've had periods where, war and things and whatnot, and it's hindered our super movement. But realistically, if you look at it on daily, even with all the stuff going on with Israel and stuff going on with other people, we've done normal. We've been perfectly fine. We came upwards, we came down. During I don't know when the war exactly started, but I think it was in this period somewhere. We came upwards, came down. We came upwards, we've come down. This is normal. This is perfect price action. So even though we've had a lot of stuff going on outside of towards the east, we've done perfectly fine. So I think this will continue to happen. I do think we'll continue to go upwards. And even on, as we can see on this range, we're actually at the equilibrium now. So we've actually done pretty well in terms of coming towards equilibrium. So potentially somewhere here, again, like I said, 68k, either maybe towards this order block down here, this range at about 67. Somewhere here we'll see some sort of support. I reckon we'll continue this uptrend, hopefully getting towards eventually 81, 82k, and then from there I think we could see a long-term reversal or long-term high to then come back down towards the low 60, 59k, whatever it may be. So it's positivity to my nose is blocked. It's positivity to result in a negative scenario. So it is what it is, but what can you do? This is my opinion. So from there, we have Ethereum, and you can see, this is like Star Trek, right? You've got, you look at other, I'm not trying to shade anybody, right? You look at other people streaming, they're doing their thing, they might have a camera on, they're, whatever. And then you come here, and it's like looking at Star Trek and looking at Star Wars, and you just see this high tech. Because look at this. Do you see that? Do you see live updating? We have a sidebar. And it just, boom, updates. And look, bang, Ethereum. It's just, you're not seeing this. You're not seeing this. This is different. Yesterday, the quiz, you're not seeing this on Binance Square. All right, this is why you come here. All right, you're not seeing this anywhere else. Do I see Francis in the chat? What are you doing here, Francis? Hello, Francis. How are you? Hopefully you're good. Let me put the range down. What do I long, bro? Lost my money. 82k Bitcoin. Then we're going to 50k. That's all you've got to know. There you go. Lost my money. How did you lose your money on Pokemon? Well, tell me. Please give me the story. I would love to know. And while you do that, I will continue with what I'm going on. Again, this stream, and I'm actually upset about this because I expected the fact that I had a trading chart hiatus on Binance Square for like 9 days, whatever it was. I can't remember the last time I streamed. It was maybe within a week and a bit ago. I was hoping I would come back to something new, and I've spent the past 3 streams, maybe this one included, and the last 2, whatever it may be, talking about the same thing over and over again. So I just want this to happen so I can do some new charts. Again, it makes my job really easy because I can just come on the stream, not look at the charts, and just go, yeah, we're going to do this, and we'll eventually do this. We're going to go up and come down. I've kept on saying this over and over again. Yeah, long then short. Not financial advice. I think Bitcoin will continue a tiny bit more down, 68k, maybe as low as 67. Again, that's your opinion, not financial advice. Or my opinion. That's your thing to figure out. And then from there, I do think we'll eventually, and even if you look at the daily, we're in an uptrend, We're at the bottom. The idea, you're going along the bottom and go to the top, right? And then sell. So, long 68k, sell at whatever the high is at 75k, right? Do that maybe. Not financial advice. Do not, please, don't listen to me, all right? It's just my opinion. Anyways. So, Ethereum, same thing. It's the same thing over and over again. Same thing as Bitcoin. 2636 range to 3450. At least into there. We have the gap on the 4-hour order daily within these 2 yellow lines. We have the weekly gap within 2388 to 28. We can see the mini gap people talked about at the high at 2190. But again, same story here. We have the range on the daily. I'm on the weekly here, but we can go to the daily. We can see the range we have here. We can see the extension line at 2429. We can see the gap coming up towards 2580. I think if we print at 2422, wicking anywhere in this range, hopefully maybe up towards 260, but I don't know if we'll exactly reach there. So somewhere in this daily gap, in my opinion. I think we can get up into this area here, 260 or 2600, 2500, and then from there, yeah, we go down. And again, Ethereum is a bit closer to the area than Bitcoin is. So in terms of that idea where we could go even higher, maybe we might see 2750. That might be a bit of a stretch. But yeah, again, same story here. Monthly, we have this gap at 27.2 to 24.80. Daily, we have the gaps. 4-hour, we have these gaps. It's the same story as Bitcoin. It generally is the same. Red box time, you cheeky bugger. But yeah, again, it's the same story as Bitcoin. We have one gap here at 21.8. it's only on the weekly. On the monthly, the weekly, the daily, the 4 hour, the 1 hour, we all have this gap at 25, 26, 2400, whatever it is. It's just the same thing. So that's all I've got to really say about that. I genuinely don't have much to update, really. If we go to the daily, see what the range is like. We're doing really well. We're doing even better than Bitcoin. You can see the high between 2196 and 2380. We have massive gaps on the way upwards. Obviously, we're printing through now. We're doing really well, I think. Again, we didn't quite have the uptrend here. I'm very happy with Ethereum because we hadn't actually started an uptrend. You can see we had the highs here. We didn't print. It was actually not looking too good, but eventually massive rip upwards. We've finally printed through this. You can see same story with Bitcoin, where we had this order block area with this green candle. You can see we found a bit of resistance there to come down. I do think we'll print past it eventually. You can see we're kind of coming into this range here below equilibrium. We can see we're in this range here at 2,100. So I reckon support could be quite soon for Ethereum. I do think we could see some support roughly soon, which would be nice. Similar to how I have Bitcoin, where 28k is probably support. I think the same story here. I do think we should see somewhat of support coming along with Ethereum. So yeah, just business as usual. Business as usual. I don't have much to say. I do have a feeling this stream will actually go. I wanted to do a stream longer than an hour. I wanted to kind of do an hour and 15, right? Unfortunately, I have a strong feeling that I'm not going to be able to talk for that long on most of these coins because everything is doing the same thing as we talked about however many weeks ago. So please, like I said earlier on, if you have anything you want me to talk about, just any sort of random suggestion, please do consider, typing it in the chat. Now again, it will be live TA and it's obviously not financial advice. Yes, please. Please put some coins in the chat, or a coin, or whatever. Anyways, Solana. Let's change the sidebar. You can see, boom. Isn't that just the highest tech? Hype. I'll look at hype. Just give me like 3 or something. I'll see what I can go through in the time I've got left at the end. And yeah, if you do have 3 days. But yeah, high tech. You can see. We go to Solana, we have the sidebar on Solana. It generally is beautiful. Again, going to the weekly here, we can't actually look at the ranges because it glitches, and I've never bothered to actually draw it out, so whatever. Same story here. Realistically, it's the same thing. We have the gap, which is closest, $93. We come up into it. We have seen a bit of resistance. We've had this rejection block here, which we can see we're printing out quite nicely on the weekly. And the monthly, we're in an uptrend. On the daily, we're printing higher. We've seen a bit of resistance, and yes, on the daily we did have a gap here, to be fair, alongside the weekly, but the main area is about $111. Weekly gap is about 116 to 105. Monthly, we have this gap as well, same area. 4 hour, we have the gap area, again, about $112. I definitely, and again, we can see the range of the purple, 106 to 132. Again, that's a bit of a big, oh no, that's not the range, is it? No, that is a weekly order block. I'm silly. We can see the midpoint is round about $117 as well. So we've got a range with between 106, about a $10 range, 106 to about 116-ish. So somewhere in the middle, 111. I've been saying 111 since the start. I do think we'll get towards this area. And again, from there, we've got some low prices. We do have some low prices. We've talked about $50. As low as 37. Again, it depends on where we do get to. I do think we'll get past. I mean, if we really look at the weekly, once we get past $67, what is there price action wise in this range? Nothing, 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 nothing. And then we have a bit of a gap here, gap here. And if we go to the monthly, we don't really have much. We have this gap we can see we've used here, which has kind of been the main point. We've come down, come upwards, come down again. We have this gap area. We have this range, midpoint's about here, about $50. So like I said, $50 I think is the first point down. Lower than that, we do have a bit of a gap here towards 24. But again, I just kind of have a gap drawn out for this whole range. You can see between these two black candles, actually, it should be this candle, to be fair. The last down close before this massive run upwards, and then the first down close between these two prices here. Let me draw that properly. There we go. So between these two wicks here, this is a void, liquidity void. So this is just this is basically it's an averaged out area for this entire range we've produced, which again gives a midpoint around about $37, gives a high about $50, which is what we talked about. Again, we have, if it goes back to the monthly, the first gap is about $50, $49 midpoint, and then from there for the bottom one, high end-ish is about $35. So again, I do think my first target downwards is about $50, $51 for Solana, and apart from that, it's just business as usual. Again, we have this rejection block. The weekly is using it pretty fine. Again, we're not quite at the midpoint. We came a bit lower, but we're doing pretty fine nonetheless. We are in that gap on the weekly, on the monthly, I should say. And I do think we're going to get up towards about $112. And that's just realistically what it is. That's my opinion, obviously, not financial advice. And again, same story I said with Bitcoin. Same, which happened with Ethereum. Like, I didn't quite say it during the moment, but same story as well. We have everyone online talking about the idea that, oh yeah, this resistance at $93, this is it, we'll come up to this area and come down. I'm not convinced. And I haven't seen anything yet in since the start, basically since 2 months, since the start of February till now, I haven't seen anything in price action which suggests to me that this will be the resistance. Not that it won't be temporary resistance, or not that it won't be like a checkpoint area before we get up towards $111. But apart from that, it's just a temporary resistance, which we'll see in our way upwards. Again, if you go to the daily, we're doing perfectly fine. People might think we're negative, and people might think we've come to the weekly resistance, we'll go down. Look at the daily, we're doing perfectly fine. And yes, we do have a bit of resistance. Bitcoin on the daily, we don't actually have this gap. This doesn't exist. It only exists on the weekly. So time frame basis, yes, we do have a bit of gap here at 95. I don't think it's going to be our permanent resistance. I think we're going to be going up towards $110, $111. So it's just what it is. We'll see there. Not financial advice. Yeah, I'm going to move on to Syrup, I think. Here we go. So Syrup, we don't need any ranges here. We don't need anything. We're going to talk about this. If you've been on any of my other million streams on Binance Square, then you will already know what I'm about to talk about, and it's going to be very boring. So I suggest getting a coffee or getting a tea, getting a drink, maybe get a snack or whatever, then come back. You know, it's the same thing. If you already know what I'm about to talk about, or if you've already been in any of my streams and remember what I've talked about, don't bother. It's the same thing, which is we had this gap order block. Midpoint about 22 cents. We can see on the weekly printed quite nicely there. Obviously, we had wicks, and again, I talked about this at the moment. I've talked about this previously. We have had times where on the lower time frames we come lower than this midpoint. But the important factor is if on the weekly we have a support point on relative on the weekly, we have to find support on the weekly. I don't care what happens in the 1 hour. The 1 hour can go towards 19 cents. The important part is if we see support at the weekly. The idea is, okay, we see support here. Maybe on the 4 hour, we can go down time frame and look back at what we've done. And yes, we can see, okay, we have a gap range here. For example, about 18 cents, 18.8. If we go across from 18.8, what do we have? About 19.5. It doesn't quite get towards 18.8. But like I said, the range, it goes from about 20 cents to 17.3. So we had something there, for example, if you will. Again, obviously, I'm pulling straws here. The main gap I probably would argue is this first one. We can see the top is about 19.6, which you can see we wicked into there 19.4. So we kind of wicked into this gap here. And then came up with. So there's different supports on different time frames, right? The important one for me is the weekly. I can't be bothered to look at the lower time frames because my important factor is to look at this going on. This massive wide time frame uptrend. Like this is the most uptrendy uptrend on the weekly I've ever seen. And yes, it is kind of, diverging up and down. But again, I do think we'll see higher than 68 cents. I do want to see this move upwards. We've had a very beautiful price action so far. Very, very beautiful. And I do personally believe we will continue to see this. To give my argument again, we found support here. We've printed through this gap quite nicely on the weekly. You can see we've printed through it. You can see we're kind of coming back down into this general range here. But most importantly, we're seeing an uptrend. Especially on the daily, we're seeing a very strong uptrend. Again, we did see resistance at this top end gap. Fine, whatever. We're in the relative uptrend here, right? We're coming upwards. We're doing our thing. We've had a massive uprun here, even during the moments of war. I think the war started on the 7th or something like that. And even throughout the whole thing, we've just continued to go upwards because this is the price action. This is what I think is going to happen. And this is just what we've been doing. We had a bounce price range here, midpoint around about here. You can see we kind of wicked into it. We can see we formed it here, came into it once, came into it twice, coming upwards, coming down again. We can see maybe what do we have? Well, we have this kind of candle here. We can maybe see about a bit of support at 23.2. Either way, in this range, and again, also coming down 12%. It's not bad. Look, if we go from the low to the high, we needed to come past at least 24.6. So this gap here, for example, as low as 23.3. This is good price action. This is normal. What do we have? We have this gap here. We have these highs. We wick past. We printed through. We have a breaker block here, for example. So if we can draw this out, this candle, where does that midpoint come to? Let's see. This midpoint comes to 23.7. This is perfectly fine. This is kind of where we're coming to. I mean, we do have a bit of a gap here, or a bit of a range downwards. I do think we'll come towards, either 23.7 as low as 23.3. This is perfectly fine price action. I think personally, this is brilliant. On the weekly, yes, we are doing whatever. On the weekly though, we have printed through this gap. Daily, yes, we do have this gap at 27.3 to 26.4. Yes, bit of resistance. But weekly time frame, we're doing perfectly fine. We've printed through a gap. This is good. Apologies for the loud noise outside. We do have good news here. Printing through gaps, printing through these little gaps here, 26 to 24. This is good news. This means we're more positive than we are negative. It means we're going up stronger than we are. We're seeing more support than we are resistance. This is good, right? But again, I'm just pulling at straws here. This is it's the same price action I've talked about. I just think we'll go upwards, and relative to the wider range, may I add, it suggests there's so much going on outside. I need to close this window. Just so many loud noises. Anyways, I do think we'll see 68 cent, and you might think that's too positive. What can I say? Anyways, going to World Liberty Financial now. We've not done the 14.3 yet. That's perfectly fine. It can take our time. Now, even though we're very negative right now on the World Liberty Financial, and I have talked about, I do need to draw this range. I can't remember if it's, I can't remember what range it is. I think it's, it might be this one, but I can't remember. No, it's 729, I think. Let's see. No. Which range is this? I always forget which range this is for this one. I could have swore it was 6,000. What am I doing? What's going on? I could have swore this was the range. I can't remember. So I forget things all the time. I can't remember. I think it was this. Whatever. I'm going to draw this one. I don't care. I'm using this one. So yeah. So the idea was, we did have an equilibrium here. I don't know which range it's supposed to be on, but we did have something here at 15 cent. We've talked about the idea. We've already been in a downtrend. I mean, looking at this, right? We had this low. We had the print past here. The idea is we want to see higher. I know we're coming down. All we have to do, and even if we don't exactly see, from the low to the high, printing through it, we have this range. I don't know why this is like this. Let's just do this, right? And let's hide the range for now because we don't exactly need it. We have the idea that, okay, we have the high to the low, and we're going to eventually see something above equilibrium. Now, I don't care where the low exactly stands. What matters is when you see, like, we have these little trails where we're going below the low, whatever. It's like points. It's like, let me draw. It's a 3% difference for the potential of a 60% move upwards, right? So wherever this low is going to be, I don't care exactly where this low is. It's the criteria of if we see above 14.22 cents, that is the indicator that we go upwards. I don't care what happens in this period. To trade a range downwards, the most guaranteed trade, instead of trying to trade the max low to go upwards, what you do is you wait to see if we go up to this price and then trade downwards. Again, this is daily, weekly time frame. If this takes too long for you, just go to the 50-minute and trade the 50-minute, right? This is, it's just trade a different time frame. But relative to the weekly and weekly, daily time frame, if we look at the low to the high coming downwards, we can see what we're doing right now. And even on the weekly, we haven't actually printed a new low relative to what we have. And then we can see on the weekly, we have this gap at 15 cent. We have the order block here starting at 13 cents. So it's perfectly fine as long as we're getting above 14.2. The gap here is perfect. You can see the equilibrium is exactly where that high is here. So anywhere in this range, really, 14.6. So eventually we'll see this, I think. I think we'll see this alongside the move of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, alongside that move up towards 82,000, the move towards 2,600, the move towards $111. I think we'll see this, hopefully, not financial advice, with World Street Financial. I do think we'll see this move towards 14.4. Now again, World Street Financial, it's a very alt altcoin. It's not within the top 3, top 5 coins. It might not follow market structure as closely as Solana will to Ethereum or Ethereum will to Bitcoin, but it still will hold some sort of value towards what we're doing in the market. But again, as we see, we're still kind of going down right now, even though the market is going upwards. So we have to understand the fact that this is still an altcoin, and this, not only is it an altcoin where it can have its own sort of market and its own sort of movements, we also have the scenario where we are seeing a coin which has relation to a political person, right? Where this will have, it's like if we had, I don't know, the names coming into my head I don't want to use. I don't know. A lot of, to be fair, a lot of political coins, when it's related to a person like Trump coin or Melania, these are meme coins, right? But this is a project which is connected to a political person, which I think it holds more structure, it holds more gravitas, right? So if, I don't know, if Macron or Keir Starmer was the head of, or in the party which made a altcoin, or if it made a cryptocurrency, then it's kind of the same story, right? So even though it's not directly connected to them in the sense that it's a meme coin, it still will have some sort of weighting if they do things, within politics, right? But either way, I do still think we'll do this. Even if you just look at what we're doing, right? Even these little mini moves, we're doing this. Look at the trend, right? Again, we have come from this high. Again, anytime an altcoin comes out, I ignore the first candle. Because this is the open. This is us moving to it. I don't care. I don't care. Simply. Maybe Binance listed it, whatever. I don't care. All I care about is the trend we have here. We have a low to the high. We have a low printing past this low. What do we want to do in market structure? Structurally, in the market, and again, this is the weekly. This is the entire range of the history of World Street Financial coming from 17th of November till now. We want to see, in theory, that move, right? And even if we don't see it, we continue downwards, we're going to see eventually that move towards that equilibrium, wherever it may be. And I think, like I said, the context of the fact that we have other things in the market potentially going upwards, we want to see this move, right? So that's my personal opinion. And that is World Street Financial. Again, 14.6 cents. I have talked about 0.008 cent. If we unhide the ranges, we have 8.5 or 8.5 cent, yeah. We have 8.5 cent, which is my one target downward. So in the idea that if we want to see us stay in between 32 cents and 11 cents, we need to print at 8.5 cent, or we need to stay above 8.5 cent. We don't have to come to it, but the idea that if we see this sort of move and then we start to reverse or whatever, if we print past 8.5 cent, we can go towards zero. I'm not saying we will hit zero, but we can head towards these areas. But I don't think that's going to happen, personally, with World Street Financial. I personally think we might even not see this price at 8.5 cent. Even though, yes, okay, we will continue a downtrend until proven otherwise. If we can, the period for ranges where reversal is most likely to occur is going to be at these extension lines, where we visit these areas and then reverse. And we have a period where we come down, we come to the period here, we come up to the high at 11 cent, we then do a higher low and then reverse. The period of reversal will probably happen within this area, right? So even though we've come upwards to 14.8 and then come down again, this is the period where we will probably see the most likely chance of having a reversal, which then would allow us to stay in this range at 11 cents to 33 cents and come up towards 21, 22 cent and do all these sorts of things, right? So that's kind of long-term World Financial Opinion, that is. But in terms of the shorter term, or in terms of the scope of the actual price action, it's going to be within 14.5 cents for a short-term high, or a lower high, I should say, and then we'll see where we go from there. But that's, again, my opinion. Other than that, though, that is the last of the coins I have on my list. We do have some coins suggested. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new item, right? And I'm going to do... apologies for the typing. I'm going to do suggested coins. Oh, it's going down. It's going down. Let me just move this to the right. It's a mess. I apologize. It's a mess. I'm going to move that down, and then we can go to suggested coins. Mags, hello. How are you? You're joining. Luckily for you, if you do watch, I am doing a bit of a longer stream. Again, I said the intro. It might not be an hour and a half. It might be an hour and a quarter. But I did want to have a little bit of a longer stream because it's been a while. I was expecting the coins to have done something, but most of the stream has been me talking about the same thing I talked about, 10 days ago, whenever it was exactly I streamed. So Mags, if you've watched the other streams, I know you've been in there before, you've not missed much. I'm not gonna lie. Nonetheless, though, let me go to, there we go. So the coins suggested, let me check Binance out. So I know you said gold and silver. I've actually never looked at really charts outside of crypto. I can try though, but we do have Hype and Aave, so I will go to Hype. I don't think I've ever really looked at Hype. I don't know. I don't think I've ever looked at it. So we need to find the range. Let's see what's the most likely range. We're in an uptrend, so we've got about 50. So we'll probably, relative to what we have, we'll probably have this range. That's about right. And we need to remember we are half shifted, so we need to get rid of the half shift, and then we can see that's pretty good, I'd say. It starts from zero. Again, this is a start from zero, but that's pretty good. You can see the high at 59 cent was pretty good there. So this is relatively within the range of what we want. We can see Equilibrium. It's in this range. We have the outer rim of Equilibrium as well, which we can look at. So if we just draw this, we can see how well if we respect it up and down. So you can see we did pretty well. We had resistance at the midpoint here. We came up, had a support, a bit of support. Kind of came to the bottom, and then obviously support, mainly using support resistance, so bit of resistance, bit of support, bit of resistance to support, and then come upwards. So we can see we're on the higher range of this half. What I probably will do, I can probably half shift this downwards. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to draw the Equilibrium here to know where we are, so we can see obviously resistance, a bit of support, support, bit of resistance, support in these periods. So doing pretty well for Hype. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go range downwards so we can go on some lower time frames and have a little look at what we're doing in this range. So what are we doing? Let's see. I do apologize. I need to close this window. It's ridiculous. Anyways, so we can see we kind of came really close to this low at 19.5 cent. We can see we kind of missed it by 80 cent, whatever. But we can see if we go upwards, we're doing pretty well. We came to this Equilibrium, came upwards. We can see we had a bit of difficulty at the extension line, which kind of makes sense towards the high. But the most important thing is we can see if we go to the 4 hour, I don't know why the range is shifting so much. It's going up and down. It's because we're above and below this high. Okay, so we can see we've kind of come upwards. We've kind of had a bit of difficulty firstly at this high, and you can see we've kind of come upwards now above this. And you can see we've printed. So what if we can continue this uptrend? And again, we're in an uptrend here, so it makes sense. If we can continue what we're doing in terms of we're at this high point here, or we're at the support, we can see a bit of resistance, bit of support, potentially support here. If we can continue higher and continue to use $41 as support, that is a pretty good sign. Let's go back to outside of the 4 hour. From there, we'd probably be wanting to look at towards Equilibrium 49 cent. Again, this was resistance here previously. We do have some highs here at some lines at 43 cents, or $43, I should say. But from there, I'm going to look, whatever I'm saying, we can see clear as day. We didn't print here. We had a high, higher high, higher low. In respect to the trend, we should want to see up towards $59. Realistically. So actually what I'm going to do with Hype is completely ignore the daily and just continue to stay on the weekly here. Whoops. And from there, what I'm going to say is towards $65. Again, we are in this range pretty nicely. Again, we haven't come to zero. We're staying at 9 cents or $9. I keep saying cents. We're in this range real nice. From this high to this low, we're in this range real good. From the high anyway. We haven't obviously gone to zero. That makes sense. We're never really gonna go to zero, so it's a bit of a dud point. But whatever, we're not gonna see that. Let's go back to it. So I do think relative to the structure we have, we probably going to want to see at the high again. In terms of difficulty resistance, what do we have? There's not much in the way of what we have going on. What I can see, we had this bounce price range at the high before we reversed. I can't draw this range, man. There we go. So we can see we had this here. We had this bounce price range. We had this candle this green candle coming into this range, printing for it. So what I will say about that is that this should be somewhat of resistance. We can see we're kind of at this area now, at the midpoint. So if anywhere I could, actually, what I will say, again, ignoring the daily, I'm going to suggest that we probably will come down. Again, uptrend, we've been going upwards. I think we can come towards $32, maybe towards $30 for this equilibrium. Because we have this midpoint of resistance on the daily, we probably should come down, continuing not only the wider weekly range, we should also probably respect this. Number one, we've obviously reversed. We've come down. We've reversed really nicely. We probably will respect this uptrend where we'll see another higher low before we're going upwards again. I know it's getting really messy, but respecting this, we should go upwards on the daily. On the weekly, respecting the wider range, we should continue to go upwards towards the all-time highs. And we should continue to respect this resistance, which we have formed. Resistance come here, hopefully print towards about $50-ish, maybe taking these highs at 51.5, coming into the higher time frame resistance. From there, we should potentially see a support at $41, and then continue upwards towards all-time highs. So this is actually a really good chart for Hype. I do expect to see higher and greater things for Hype. If we go back to the weekly, I would expect to continue to see this. This is pretty good price action. And I will draw out this bounce price range once more, which you can see we use there. This is, we'll draw this in red. So again, from there, we can probably see somewhat of a use midpoint, find support, come upwards to the high, use midpoint as support, print past rejection block resistance, use the gap which we had bounce price range as support, printing towards extension line for a high, and then we'll see. This is kind of what I could expect to happen in theory. Again, not saying we can't go lower and then come upwards and then lower again and come upwards. I'm not saying we can't do any of these things, but this is a general. If I was to guess where different supports would be, I would guess somewhere at support at $30, somewhere at resistance at the bounce price range again, somewhere at support at the midpoint of the order block, printing higher than the gap, using it as support, maybe even a bit lower towards $48, and then from there, maybe seeing the highest resistance again at $60, but if not, $65 for the extension line. But I don't see anything on the weekly to believe that we aren't going to continue this uptrend. This looks like a pretty good chart. So I would long-term suggest that we should see higher time frame or higher all-time high at $59. Same we have with Syrup, to be fair, where we kind of have this move going on where we've come down. This is a very similar chart where we've had this. The chart on Syrup is this. This is the chart we've had so far on Syrup. This is a very similar chart to Hype. If we ignore this little up move on Syrup, we have this. So I think Hype and Syrup can do very similar things. I think Hype is a slight bit ahead where it's already gone up a tiny bit, but same we have with Syrup, my same belief where we have no reason to suggest that we are going to continue downwards and go towards $17 or $15. I do think we are going to go upwards. I don't know the tokenomics of Hype too well. I don't know the politics of Hype too well. I don't know what's going on within the ecosystem, to be fair. So there might be some quote-unquote macroeconomic things with Hype which could occur. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with what's going on. But anyways, nonetheless, though, I should probably read the chat, actually. Let me go check Barnes and whatnot. Reading the YouTube chat quickly. Oh, the other chat. I know I'm late. Today's Father's Day. My daughter can have lunch with me today. I woke up at 5 and place on limit orders. Okay. Well, limit, is it buy or sell? That's what I want to say. Happy Father's Day to Rags as well. Is it Father's Day? Is it the American? Is it UK or America? Is it Father's Day? No, it's not. No way it's not. I know I would have missed that, though, because if I've missed it, then I've really missed it. Oh. Okay. Right, so like Portugal, Spain, Latin America. Okay, cool. Right, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, let me look up the UK. Father's Day UK. Okay, June 21st. Woof. Woof. Yeesh. That could have been a big yikes. I didn't miss Mother's Day. I thought I missed Father's Day. Okay. Right, so in like Portugal and Spain and stuff, it's today. So happy Father's Day, Max. I thought I really missed it then. Yikes, that could have been an absolute stinker. My heart dropped. I saw, because I went quiet when I read the chat. I was like, it's Father's Day? No chance it's Father's Day. Anyways, nonetheless, the charts. So that's what I think of hype. I think that's a pretty good chart. I think I'm pretty happy with how that would go. The last one, I don't know if I can look. What I'll do, Bitcoin Buyer, next chart stream, Monday, I might try and sneak in. This will be the first for me on charts. I'll try and slip in at the end some actual gold and or silver charts. I don't really look at them on streams ever. I don't really look at them off stream either. But I'll see if I can do it. I'll see if you're there in the stream. I'll see if I can do it. Because it might be quite interesting. But I'll have a quick look at Aave. Again, like I said, I didn't want it to be fully an hour and a half. It could be an hour and 15. We've got about 10 minutes. I might just do Aave and then end the stream. But it's been a pretty good one so far. Nonetheless, again, I don't really think I've looked at this too much. I don't think I even have any chart on this. So let's see, what's the kind of range going on? So if we look at the high, so this range we have from the low to the high, we kind of have a 729 range is what I'm going to kind of guess at. Close enough anyway. It's about, okay, that's equilibrium, yeah. So it's kind of right. What I'll do, I'll go a range lower to see what it looks like. That's what we have. Yeah, it's too high. Let's go back to 729. Yeah, this is kind of all right. Again, we're never going to go to 0. But on the wider range, we can see we kind of missed towards 729. We have an equilibrium we definitely have been kind of using on and off. We kind of came above it. We use support quite often, resistance, support, resistance. We have used this quite nicely here. We also are here mainly. We can, obviously I can look at this price action and whatnot, but I'm going to mainly look at what we have here, which we can see we've had the equilibrium being used as resistance quite well. Not super positive. Again, we did wick. We have printed past our previous low here, main low at $115. So coming down, we're doing all right, I suppose. I will try and go to 243 just to see what we have, if anything, here. If we have anything on the range. So you can see we kind of came from the equilibrium to expansion or the extension line, and then we then printed past it, came lower, and then used its support to the equilibrium where we found difficulty. We can then see we tried to use support and then finally printed through it here, using it as support here, came upwards, printed through it, and then resistance. So we're doing pretty well on and off. I'm going to go to the daily though to see a bit more detail. So from there we can kind of see we've been in this equilibrium, but I don't want to look at the daily because it's just downtrend. Like realistically, we just have high, low, lower high, lower low. So from there, what I'll suggest is probably an extension back upwards towards equilibrium. So maybe positive again. Maybe I'm wishful thinking, but somewhere wherever our low is going to be. If we look here, what do we have? We have a breaker block area, which means it should be. We have. Green. We have this breaker block here actually here, and then we can see I can't draw it. Let's just draw it out. We can see we have this green candle. We print through it here with this black, and then print through it one more. This is a breaker block. We can then see we kind of print above that midpoint here. We can see we use it here and then come upwards. And if we draw this across, you can see we used it in these areas as well. So we kind of are at a decent low point for support. And we're in the wider range of equilibrium. If we look at this range, we do have the main equilibrium point, which is this area. Let's just make it like a blue. We are at this main equilibrium point, but the wider range is the 2 lines outside of it. We can see we're on and off at this equilibrium. We can see resistance, support obviously previously here, but if we kind of zoom out, we can see the previous times where we've used it, try to use support, come upwards, use it resistance at different areas, right? And you can see we use it support on the outer rim. So we are definitely using this equilibrium. I definitely think we are still within the range though. We can see we've used this breaker block here at about $93. We are still within equilibrium. I do think if we can reverse this and go upwards, it would be very nice. But again, we're at long-term low for Aave. Now, the difference, we do see a difference again with Bitcoin and whatnot. We do have we have already seen a low to the high to then come down again, to then see a lower high and then come down. But with Aave, we can see the wider range. The only time we've seen this kind of reversal has been now at $116. So it does give me positivity to potentially go up towards the equilibrium at 241. However, I do still think we have a long-term downtrend, even with here, it's like we had a low to the high, a low, a higher low, lower high, or lower low, I should say, to then see maybe a lower high. We probably could maybe see a bit of a move upwards to see that lower high before going even lower towards, some areas down here at $50, $60, $70, whatever it may be. So, but I mean, we haven't started yet. It's not financial advice. We haven't reversed anything just yet, but the outcome, in my opinion, should be we go higher to find a lower high to then go lower. But we haven't fully formed this low yet. We can go lower. We could come as low as $67 before we go upwards. We haven't formed that major low yet. So what I would suggest is if we were to get to the point of $239, that's when I would short. I wouldn't be longing right now. It's not a confirmed thing. I would like to see us start to print above $144, printing above the gap at $139, start to use as support. I would like to start to see that, If we can see that sort of stuff, then yes, I would suggest we go upwards towards, 239. But until then, I don't personally think, I wouldn't personally long. I would look at trading other coins. I would maybe long Bitcoin. I would maybe long Ethereum or Solana. I'd maybe looking at trying, because how much lower can we really go? Well, we can only really go 1 cent lower, which is, 8% down. I don't think World Liberty Financial can go much lower than where we are. So I would be looking at longing World Liberty Financial. I would personally, the most likely thing to be trading is syrup, not financial advice. I would maybe long syrup. I maybe long World Liberty Financial, maybe long Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Again, not financial advice. I could be wrong, but syrup is the main one thing for me where I would probably long and I would see the most positive outcome. Same with World Liberty Financial. How much lower can we really go? I do think we could see that as well. But other than that, with Aave, if you're already in the trade or if you've already bought it, I would still hold it. I wouldn't be panic selling or anything. We could potentially go higher, not financial advice. But if you're looking to trade it like futures, I wouldn't look at Aave to trade right now. It's not a confirmed thing. It's not financial advice. Again, I am on the weekly. I could go to the 4 hour and give you some TA right now on the 4 hour to maybe trade, but I wouldn't really be bothering with Aave. I couldn't be bothered. If it's the only coin you could trade, then yes, I guess you could maybe look at maybe longing or shorting or whatever. Or if we look at it maybe on the range downwards, let's see what we're doing. How are we doing? Let's see. So you see we're kind of still fighting at equilibrium. We have that low. I'm actually going to go a lower range. I want to see what we're doing. If we have a high to low or anything. You can see we're kind of not really respecting much of any high or low. We can see we're kind of staying in between. We're staying in between. If I can highlight it. Oh my days. There we go. Oh my, I can't highlight. I try to shift click it so I can highlight it. There we go. We're kind of staying in between equilibrium and lows. You can see we're kind of multiple times now. Equilibrium, equilibrium, equilibrium. Outside of equilibrium, outside of equilibrium, equilibrium. So you can see we've been in this range multiple times now. You can see we're also kind of turning the tide. We've kind of have a low. We can see we're starting an uptrend here. So maybe we could go higher. So, but I mean, to be fair though, high equilibrium or high gap at equilibrium, we're printing through as low. So maybe we do go down. Again, we can also see we have these two upclock candles into this gap at equilibrium. We have this gap here. We have main equilibrium. We have the resistance here. We have a print through of this candle. We can see, if we draw this candle out, We can see we entered into it at 115 and we've continued back downwards. So that is pretty much major resistance as well, alongside this gap here, which is a inverted gap as well. Or no, just a normal gap, to be fair. So from there, we probably, you know, if we are continuing downwards, finding this low, we'll probably see something within some of previous price action. So we have, for example, we have this previous gap, which we printed through. We can see we used it there, for example. From there, we can see we had this down close upwards, so we probably look at the candle body of that. We can see we saw a bit of support there. So we could probably see something along the lines of coming towards at $110. So from there, I would probably guess to have a retracement towards about $115, you know, coming back up into $116, and then maybe continuing a downtrend from here, back towards, you know, $105. What we can see with the 4-hour, we're staying between equilibrium, but we are at 107. But we can also see, as I've mentioned previously, we don't come into the range downwards until we print past extension. And what we can see is we have found support at equilibrium multiple times now. So potentially what we could do is have this downtrend towards equilibrium, maybe towards $108 before we go upwards again. So RV, if I had to trade it, and again, this was just quick TA before I ended the stream on the lower time frame. If I had to trade something like RV, I would suggest it would maybe go down towards $108 before going upwards again. But you can see we've been really range bound between equilibrium and the extension. We've really been range bound in this area. So that's what I would probably suggest for RV. But again, long term, I would want to see a weekly retracement towards some highs in terms of what we have on this wider range. You know, before we continue to go lower in this range downwards, I would suggest to go a bit higher. Not financial advice. Other than that though, if we go to the sidebar outro, let me fix this though. There we go. High tech. See, we're high tech out here. That's it though. That's my that's the charts. That's it. I've done an hour and 15. I think that's pretty good though. I tried to do it a bit longer. What would have been nice though, if I did end it on an hour, we actually would have finished the stream on time, which is very impressive. Again, this mic, you know, it's professional season out here, so you know, we're keeping on time. But thank you nonetheless for sticking by through the stream. If obviously you joined at the start as well, really appreciate you spending your time on this stream and sticking it all the way up to the end. So thank you very much for being here. I will be back hopefully Saturday, Sunday. I don't know if I'll be doing Saturday. We might be doing a video for some external work. So I don't know if I'll miss that stream. If not, I'll try to do Sunday. I might do another the OpenClaw stream. I did one last Thursday, and I thought it was pretty enjoyable. It was very tiring though, because it was just constant like talking. But I want to plan to try and relate it more to crypto and how you can utilize it with crypto. So that's kind of the plan. I don't know if it's Francis. Let me see. I know Francis is still here. Was there something related with Binance and OpenClaw as well? I don't know if I saw that. So I'm interested to see how you guys did on that stream. I should probably go watch it back. Nonetheless though, like I said, I don't want to keep you guys any longer than I have to. Thank you. Appreciate you guys for being here. Be back Saturday or Sunday and watch the stream. Thank you. Appreciate it, Max. Again, like I said, Max, I know you've been in streams before. You know, before I had the little like week hiatus. Most of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and SERP and World Financial, they're identical. Genuinely, the charts, they haven't changed since I last talked about them. So you obviously can go watch back. I'm not stopping you, but just let you know, there's not really much new I would talk about. So, you know, just let you know. Again, nonetheless, thank you. I keep saying it. Be back Saturday, Sunday. See you guys next time. If you enjoyed, follow, subscribe, notifications, this, that, the other, all these sorts of things. And if you really enjoyed it, donate, you know, suggesting it, okay? Not financial advice, but we do pretty good content here. You're not seeing this, you know, sidebar quiz. I know someone's Eddie said quiz. We will be doing the quiz next Wednesday. We do it on Wednesdays. So yes. And next stream, I'll try and include some sort of gold silver thing. That will be quite interesting. I haven't done that ever on stream, so might be good to look at. I promise I'm ending it. I swear to God. Thank you. See you guys next time. Goodbye.